Ah, yes. Okay, so it seems that we got everything going on right now. I think we could be all set for today's episode, and I think we should all be ready. So that's perfect, and let's go ahead and get things started. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special holiday episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Well, maybe not necessarily a special holiday episode. The reason why I would say that is mainly because it's just that by the time I am recording this, we are getting very close to the holidays. Christmas, to be precise. It is just around the corner, so I figured, why not just have one more big episode just highlighting all the major animation news that has happened this week, and we could just have a little bit of fun at the same time. So, before we go and settle with our little Christmas time with ourselves and our family and go check out some of the big movies that are in theaters, because now it's just more than just one Star Wars movie. Well, even though this year we don't have a Star Wars movie, but there are a lot of major films out there right now. But the big thing is, let's go and put that out of the way. Guys, I want to ask the chat wall right now, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. What do you say? Are you all ready now? Let's see. Oh, great. It seems that some people are prepared. The door kind of closed itself. Thank you, creepy spirits that are on the side. Alright, so I think some people are pretty much ready. Okay, perfect. Oh, yes, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Now people are officially ready, and that's what I love to see. Alright, so that's good. So let's go ahead and start things off with our first story. And we're going to be discussing about Disney. Now, Disney pulled off a little bit something similar to what they have done back during Thanksgiving, where they gave us our first ever public look of the live-action remake of The Lion King. It's computer automatic. Quiet, you. But they did something a little bit similar in the veins that they didn't give us a trailer, to be precise, but they did show us some brand new pictures, actually. We have seen now a buttload of pictures, well, some actually, coming from the live-action remake of Aladdin. Yes, this week, Disney decided to let Entertainment Weekly to show several pictures that will give us our first look of the live-action remake of Aladdin. And unlike the teaser trailer that barely showed us everything except one little snippet of the Cave of Wonders and also a little bit of Aladdin himself, now we do see what the other characters are going to look like. And why not go and check all these pictures out together, shall we? And the first one, we might as well take a look at the cover, in which the cover of the new Entertainment Weekly, it pretty much shows us all the main cast. Well, some of the main cast, actually. It's a picture showing us the live-action remake version of Aladdin, Jasmine, and of course, the genie himself. So, well, let's go ahead and take a little bit of an analysis right over here. So, first of all, we got Aladdin. We have already seen what he looks like. I don't know about the t-shirt, like the addition of the t-shirt, that just seems a little bit weird, because when you do look at the original Aladdin, like, he is a bit pretty shirtless, and I have seen people complain that a little bit, because apparently the guy playing playing Aladdin, I believe his name, Misa Masood or Misa Masoud, however how you pronounce his name, apparently he has a very good body, and, you know, a good body enough to just at least show off some of his pecs. So, some people are a bit disappointed. I feel like it's kind of strange and a bit out of place to have a t-shirt like that, but, so yeah, but other than that, it's not bad of an Aladdin. And then we got Jasmine, who's probably the best looking one, and not just because she's actually very attractive, played by Naomi Scott, but also the factor that she definitely does look like Jasmine. And, like, you look at how she is dressed, you look at the outfit, and you look at the actress that's playing it, and you think to yourself, yeah, you know what? This is full-on Jasmine. They did a pretty good job with this one. Hopefully, she can act as well as she looks. And then also you got the first ever look at the genie, which of course is played by Will Smith. And oh boy, let me tell you guys, when these pictures first came out, there have been a lot of very strong emotional reactions to it. And Will Smith as the genie is definitely one of them, because it was actually very controversial when this came out, not necessarily because of any racist issues or anything like that, but mainly because of the fact that people are very upset that the Will Smith genie is not blue. Yes, folks, if you go and look it up online, you can actually go and check out that a lot of people have been very flustered over the fact that the genie is not fully blue, just like the animated genie in the animated film. Which, if I could be honest, if I could put in my little take on the controversy here, I find that a little bit ridiculous, honestly. Like, I like, out of all the things to go and complain about, with the pictures that we have for this live-action remake of Aladdin, the one that you really have to latch onto is the fact that Will Smith is not blue. Like, honestly, the first time that I see this, well, I'm gonna be honest, I do have a little bit of mixed reactions myself, but honestly, at first glance, it's not that bad. I'm not troubled by the fact that he's not blue. In a way, with his outfit, he reminds me a lot of the Broadway version of the genie, played by, I'm trying to remember his name. I think it's James Monroe Englehart, in which he has done a stellar performance as the genie on stage. And looking at how Will Smith is dressed, you know, it's very much like that. You know, it does bring out that kind of sensation. But honestly, the one downside for me, though, with this is that, honestly, it's Will Smith. I mean, the thing is, you look at this, it's like, there's no hiding. You know, they're not covering up anything. This is obviously Will Smith. And you know that his performance in Aladdin is mostly going to be Will Smith being Will Smith. It almost in the same way as how Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks in playing as Walt Disney and Saving Mr. Banks. So, I don't know, like, for me, this is mostly going to be a wait and see. I'm not going to say I hate it right now, because, like, you never know. Will Smith could actually bring out a hilarious and fantastic performance that could stand well on his own when the movie does come out. But, I don't know, it's going to take a while for me to get used to see Will Smith's face as the genie. So, that is a bit of a wait and see. But the factor that people are really complaining about the fact that he is not blue, I feel like that seems to be something that people are just looking for something to hate about with this. Like, they already got an established hate for this live-action remake of Aladdin, and they're trying to nitpick their way into finding something to really latch on to really find a serious complaint about this that doesn't respect well to the original movie. And they decided, hey, Will Smith is not blue. Will Smith is the same color as Will Smith. Let's complain about that. So, honestly, I'm sure there are many things to go and complain about when this movie will come out, but the fact that he's not going to be blue, or the fact that he's not blue in these pictures, I don't think that's an issue. And on top of that, it seems that the controversy actually became so big that Will Smith himself had to come out publicly and try to confirm to people to say that he will be blue. Like, these are just pictures, but in the movie, you will see that they're going to add a whole bunch of special effects where he's going to appear blue. Like, even his skin will be as blue as a Smurf. So that's how crazy that scenario has been. Alright, but with that said, we just only discuss about the cover. We have a whole lot of other pictures to go and talk about. And apparently the cover seems to be the last picture that Entertainment Weekly put into, so we gotta go a little bit backwards. So let's move on to our next picture, and this is actually our first ever look into Abu. And of course this is gonna be a CGI Abu, and honestly I guess there's not really much to complain about because it's exactly what you would get, you know? This is a live action version of Abu. And, of course, he will be CGI, and you could tell that, like, with his eyes, he is going to be a lot more animated as a character, where they're going to play around with his facial expressions. So, yeah, this definitely does confirm that Abu will be by Aladdin's side, and they'll probably use him a lot. And I do see a lot of people really liking this Abu. Like, I see just a flood of comments in the chat wall saying that, oh, he's cute. Yeah, he does look like a pretty cute monkey, so that's probably something that people will look forward to. All right, let's see. Another one. Oh, this. Okay. Then we have Jafar. Now, Jafar is actually another one that got a lot of very strong emotions. Probably as much as Will Smith not being blue here. In which, as you can see, he's being played by Marwan Kenzari. And, but the thing is, though, the way that people reacted with this guy is not necessarily because they are upset. Quite the opposite, in fact. Because people are freaking out about this Jafar and how sexy this guy is. Yes, this is the guy. This is Marwan here without his shirt. And holy crap. I gotta say, yeah, even I have to admit, this guy is sexy as hell. Like, holy man. This is a man right over here. Like, this is a major hunk of a man. Like, this is like up with like Idris Elba levels of a sexy man right over here. Like, whoo boy. Gives me second thoughts. Like, should I just go with girls, or maybe I can open up and maybe invite guys? Like, if this guy would ask me out, maybe I would, man. Like, this is a sexy man right over here, and people are just going crazy. Like, even fangirls are going out there going like, oh my god, this guy is so cute. Oh my god, Jafar is so sexy right now. If I would be Slave Jasmine, I would distract him for Aladdin to do his things by kissing him, and so much more. I don't know why I turned the fangirl into Grenda from Gravity Falls, but it wouldn't surpass me. I would not be surprised at all if Grenda does actually become attracted to this version of Jafar. And that's how a lot of people really feel about him. It's that some people think like, okay, yeah, Aladdin's pretty good, but Jafar, that is a sexy boy right over here. Woo boy. But yeah, so that seems to be the big thing, is that people are upset that Genie is not blue, but people are wearing the white pants when they have to discuss about Jafar in the live action remake of Aladdin. It's honestly quite crazy. So anyways, let's go into our next picture that we have here. Okay, now out of all the pictures, I gotta say, this is the one that I hate the most. This is the one that I really do dislike. Because honestly, this is a frickin' eyesore. And the reason why I say that, it's not because anything looks terrible. It's not, I'm not complaining about how Jasmine looks. It's not her costume. It's not the other actors or anything like that. My problem with it is the fact that there's just way too freaking much going on happening in this one picture. It's hard to really put your focus into where we need to look at. Even when, like, Jasmine's dress is obviously red. Like, you got the guard standing on the side who obviously has some red on him as well. It's like, you don't know where your eye needs to focus. And I'm sure this is going to be a complaint that you're going to hear quite frequently when the movie does come out. In fact, some people have already complained about this already when the teaser trailer was released, when there was just too many elements to just look everywhere. Like, you know the part when Aladdin tries to get his lamp? Like, on that scene alone, the scene was just way too busy when everything around him is just filled with different kinds of treasure, and it's hard to really keep a focus on where you need to plainly look at. So that's honestly going to be a main issue. And I mean, like this corridor, like, it also shows up in the Jafar picture as well. So yeah, honestly, that's one thing that I'm not looking forward to, is that there's going to be way too much detail to the point that you don't know where your eye should go and focus. It's a lot like if you got a pretty little picture and there's just way too much freaking glitter all over it. It's hard to really know where your eye should go and focus, especially like if you're in front of one shining light and then the glitter just like, it gets too... Oh, excuse me. But it gets too bright where, like, it hurts your eyes a bit. That's one thing I'm not necessarily excited about. And then, of course, we got one picture right over here. Again, it seems like something that's just a little bit too busy, but it's Aladdin and Jasmine, where she disguises herself as a peasant to go into the market. You know, like, everybody's running, everybody's running away from, like, the guards. It's like, hey, that's Aladdin, get him! Stuff like that. And then we got another one where we have a new character featured, where Jasmine is actually talking with her handmaiden Dahlia, which she's going to be played by Nassim Pedrad. So this is just a little one where they're just having a chat. So not bad. Just a good one to prominently display how Jasmine would normally look like as we recognize her. Then we got another one. It seems like everybody is just checking out what's going on. And then we got Aladdin on the side, which most likely, if I could take a guess on which scene this could probably be, I feel like this is the scene where Aladdin would meet up with Prince Ahmed. Like, remember, like, that douchey prince who would probably be a suitor for Jasmine at the beginning of the film, but ends up getting rejected? So that could probably be that scene right over here. Then we got another one, and this is just a plain version of Aladdin and Jasmine just casually walking by with Jasmine disguised as a peasant in the marketplace with everybody trying to sell their stuff. And then, like, you got this questionably racist Chinese guy on the side selling his things. I don't know if this would be yeah, there is just something about this guy right over here that I'm really questioning if he is politically correct. I don't know. It's just, like, he, honestly, he kind of reminds me of that Chinese guy from the original King Kong. The one character that not many people really want to talk about when they want to discuss about King Kong. Yeah, that guy. That's who he reminds me of, so, I don't know. But yeah, I think this is supposed to be, like, the main thing to focus, is Aladdin and Jasmine just hanging out. And then, finally, we got our last picture right over here, which is actually Aladdin hanging out with the genie, which, they're just sitting down, they're relaxing, they're, sitting on cushions and stuff like that, and, the genie is just consulting with Aladdin on some things. So who knows what they will be chatting about, but I guess we'll have to wait and see when the movie does get released. So yeah, overall, these are all of our pictures that we have right over here. These are all the pictures. Hold on, I just need to take care of one thing. All right, there we go. So yeah, these are all the pictures that we have seen of Aladdin so far. And I mean, I gotta say, when it comes to the actors, they look pretty good. They're not, they actually do look like they're prepared to be in the part of Aladdin, Jasmine, Jafar, and of course, the genie. So hopefully they will bring out a pretty good performance, like I said before, as well as they look. And even for me, I don't necessarily mind the genie. And with Jafar, it's going to be pretty interesting to see audiences' reactions with the way how the internet is freaking out right now with how sexy Jafar is right now. I don't think there has ever been a time where people have totally lusted over a Disney villain. I try to think of another one, and honestly, I just can't. Like, even with the female Disney villains, like, I can't really think of one. Like, other than, like, honestly, maybe Maleficent, like, she does have a bit of attractiveness on her, but other than that, like, not really much that people are flipping out like, oh my god, that is sexy! Like, honestly, the most that I could really think of, I kid you not, would probably be, yeah, like, okay, some people are saying, Gaston, but, nah, not really. I don't see anyone really having the hots for, Gaston, really, especially with the way that he shows his true nature in Beauty and the Beast. But honestly, I would say that maybe Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame would get a lot of women crazy and a lot of people crazy over his sexiness. And I know it does seem like a crazy thing to say. Wait, Judge Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame? Oh yeah, you would be very shocked to find that Frollo actually does have his groupies. There are a lot of fans who really do think that Frollo is very attractive, and they would want to do some shippings, like, with him and Esmeralda. It's like, come on, like, you know, they would say, like, come on, movie, give Frollo his girl, man. He definitely deserves it. He's got the hots, man. You know, some people are like that. I know it seems like a very weird choice, but yeah, that's the only one that I could really think of, but yeah, it's a very rare occurrence that we would find people going crazy over the attractiveness of a Disney villain, but apparently this version of Jafar seemed to have really taken the cake here. Like, yeah, this guy. So, how is he going to perform? How is he going to play around with Iago? That, I guess, we'll have to wait and see. And we will overall have to wait and see when the movie does come out in May of 2019 to know if this live-action remake of Aladdin will be worth it. If it's actually going to be really enjoyable. If it's actually going to look good. If the actors will give out a pretty solid performance. I guess we'll all have to wait and see. But with these pictures, overall, for me, I would have to say that it is giving me some mixed reactions. Some of them are a bit of an eyesore with the way that they try to fill the scenes a little bit too much with, like, so much little details to the point that you don't know where your eyes should mainly focus, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it happens. Maybe it's going to be good, maybe it won't. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming weeks, we will actually get, like, the official trailer of the live-action remake of Aladdin. Alright, so with all that said and done, I would like to know from you guys in the chat wall, what do you think about this, about these pictures of the live-action remake of Aladdin? Do you guys think they're actually pretty good? Do you guys, are you guys not impressed with them? Do you like it? Does it make you want to watch the movie? Does it not? Let me know what you think right over here. Alright, let's see. Every time I hear news about Aladdin, I keep expecting the worst, but somehow they keep convincing me that it could be a decent movie. Why does this keep happening to me? I don't know. It's funny when, like, with the subject of the live-action remake of Aladdin in general, like, sometimes there are moments when you think, like, oh, it could be good, and then there are some times when it's like, oh god, it's in some massive controversy. So, you know, things are a bit wobbly with this one, but we only have to wait and see with how it could probably end out. Let's see. I would honestly not be that mad that if the genie is not blue. At the very least, they would not use any CGI effects that could either look really good or really bad, and if it comes out looking bad, it might look like fake CGI. The controversy about Will Smith will not hurt this movie, and it will still be a big hit. Am I the only one that feels like Disney will be having box office money being shipped to them with all their movies coming out next year, including Marvel and Star Wars? Oh yeah! Like, I can definitely say right now, 2019, Disney is gonna dominate the box office, no matter what people say, and no matter how people will feel about their movies. I mean, not only are they gonna have 3 major live-action remakes with Aladdin, Dumbo, and The Lion King, but then you also got the other movies as well. In the animation department, we got Toy Story 4, and we got Frozen 2. And then on the Marvel department, you got Avengers Endgame. It doesn't matter what the other ones are going to be. I don't even freaking care about Far From Home. They got Avengers Endgame, and that's going to be a major one for Disney. And then, of course, as well, the year and the decade in general will be ending off with Episode 9, which that one as well will be a highly anticipated movie. So I think Disney will be dominating the box office once again in 2019. It is no surprise right there. All right, let's see. Do we have any other ones? I think it'll try to recreate... I think it'll try too much to recreate the original Aladdin, although I think either Jafar or Genie will be a highlight, depending on whether hotness or comedy wins out on those Arabian Nights. That is a very good... that is actually a very good point. I mean, sexiness unintentionally seems to be a pretty solid selling point for this Aladdin remake, especially with the factors of Aladdin and now Jafar, which is kind of weird to say right now that Jafar is sexy, but man, you can't deny it. Like even though I'm not gay, I have to admit, this is a sexy, sexy man right over here. Like, holy laddie, what a chiseled god he is. But anyways, yeah, so sexiness will be a factor, but especially the comedy. That will be a major aspect, especially when the animated film had a lot of great comedic moments, especially from Robin Williams as the genie, from Gilbert Gottfried as Iago, and also, of course, like the non-talking characters like the Magic Carpet and Abu. So that's going to be a big determining factor if this movie will be a big hit or a massive flop. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's see now. We got another one. Hold on. It feels so wrong, but also right that Jafar should be something of an old fox. Yeah. Yeah, apparently some people, it's like, you know, that's the big thing. It's so weird. People thinking like, man, this Disney villain is hot, man. I was like, you know, it's like, you know when you want to play that game of marry, bang, and kill? Like, somehow now it seems to be a bit more of a difficult situation. It's like, should I put Jafar in the marry category or the bang category? I don't know. You know, like, why would I want to kill this thing right over here when I want to kill this piece of a male Venus right over here? So, yeah, that's kind of the big thing. Oh my god, and I can already tell in the chat while people are already questioning about my sexuality. It was like, is that a bad bi? Is that a bad gay? No, I just want to confirm, though, that I am straight, but I am open enough to admit when there is a guy that is actually, like, really hot or really attractive or really sexy. I'm not afraid to say that, and I mean, I gotta say, like, Misa, the guy, Mesa or Misa, the guy playing Aladdin and the guy playing Jafar, they are hot. And so is Jasmine. She's also really hot as well. And then you got Will Smith and, well, that's Will Smith right over here. But yeah, oh boy. But yeah, hopefully that can clear things out already. But with all that said, though, I think we should all be pretty good with this little piece of Aladdin right over here. And I guess like I said before, the next thing that we will discuss about with Aladdin will probably be the trailer, which probably should be coming out soon, if showing all these pictures is any indication. So, now that we are done with that, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. And the next one, we might as well discuss about the latest animated feature. I have recently put out my review, so now it is time for me to fully discuss about this. Yes, let's go ahead and talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And in case you haven't seen my review, yes, I gotta say, what an awesome movie. I wouldn't necessarily say that it is a perfect movie, and I could probably debate, or I don't know, I would question if it is like the best animated feature of the year, but still, in its own merits, it is definitely a fantastic movie that when it does something right, it does it in a mind-blowing way, and I definitely do have to congratulate the team at Sony for creating such an awesome and highly enjoyable film. And with the news that I have right over here, it will actually reflect upon what will be from last week and how it performed at the box office, because believe it or not, it actually did break some records, or it just broke one record actually. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is now the new champion and the new record holder of the largest opening ever for an animated feature released in December. Now, in hindsight, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse opening isn't necessarily as big as many of the other animated films that have released this year, making a total of $35.4 million, more specifically $35.36 million at the box office. It doesn't necessarily seem like much, but considering that it is a movie that came out in December, it actually did very well for itself, and it actually went to break the previous record holder, which was actually Illumination Entertainment's Sing. And here's probably the crazy part about this news right over here, because believe it or not, Into the Spider-Verse managed to break the record by, like, so little, by this much. It is actually very, very close to how much Sing it did. Okay, so I've mentioned before that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse had an opening of $35.36 million. Like that's during its opening weekend. Sing, on the other hand, had a opening of $35.2 million. So literally, Spider-Man managed to beat out Sing by $160,000, which is probably crazy to think about. Honestly, it's just practically mind-blowing. And so far, as I am recording this right now, as it's on its official second weekend, it is actually doing quite well for itself. It already managed to make, I believe it already surpassed $50 million in the domestic box office. So it is pretty much doing well for itself. But now we are seeing that it is in its ultimate test. Now it is the time when the major competitors have officially arrived at the box office. And I'm talking, of course, about Mary Poppins Returns, about Aquaman, and also Bumblebee. So we can actually go and check out the box office right now. I don't have the full-on estimates on the weekend in total because I only have Friday and I'm recording this on a Saturday. But as you can see here, the scores that it did on Friday is actually pretty interesting, and it does say a lot about how it's going to go, like, throughout the weekend and possibly even during holiday break. Where Aquaman, of course, unsurprisingly, is taking the lead. It has a $28 million opening, so I wouldn't be surprised seeing this one being the champion, not just during the holidays, but even throughout January. It's going to be making a whole lot of money for Warner Brothers. And then, at the same time, we also got Bumblebee, which is another movie similar to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where it's getting some major high scores, especially on Rotten Tomatoes, where it's getting a whole bunch of fantastic reviews and almost getting close to 100%. So that right now is in second place with nearly $8.5 million just on Friday alone. And then we also got Mary Poppins Returns, which it's not doing as much as some of the other movies that would be released during the holidays. Like, some people expected that it would do $7 million on its first days, but it ended up doing nearly $9 million on Wednesday and Thursday. But right now it seems to be in third place with $6.7 million. Meanwhile, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so far, what it has done ever since Mary Poppins Returns came out in theaters, it's been staying behind, but not too far behind. Where Mary Poppins Returns would be making around $5 and $4 million, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse would keep staying in second place by making nearly $3 million just behind Poppins. And even here on Friday, it's still staying behind Mary Poppins Returns with nearly $5 million. And keep in mind, though, that there is also one other competitor that we cannot leave out. And I'm talking, of course, about The Mule, which is the more adult movie by Clint Eastwood, which it stars him, it's directed by him, and all that kind of stuff. By the way, I just want to double check. Is it actually directed by Clint Eastwood also? I know he's the star. Yeah. Okay, he's the star of the film, and he is also the director. Okay, so that makes sense. But The Mule is also creeping in from behind, where it already made $4.25 million at the box office on Friday. So that's also going to be another competitor for Spider-Man. So overall, the big thing that I want to go and emphasize is that so far, Spider-Man did pretty decently on its box office opening, but now we are going to see the ultimate test when all of his major competitors are going to be coming in and dominating the box office. So really, what we are currently seeing right now is going to be a major horse race. That's how it's going to be at the box office. Who's going to be the one that will come out as a major success? And I could say right now, unfortunately, there will be one movie among all of them that's going to be a box office flop. Someone might be losing money. It could be Spider-Man, it could be Mary Poppins, it could be Bumblebee, but honestly, this is something that is a bit of a wait-and-see kind of thing. But it is going to be very fascinating, and if this trend would continue, if this order would keep coming up, that people will be going to see Bumblebee and Mary Poppins and Aquaman and Spider-Man, like in this particular order, then I think it would highlight how the box office office is going to go and how successful these movies are going to be. If everyone could be a winner, or if some of these could end up being a flop. But honestly, now that I've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, now that I have expressed my opinion, honestly, I have given some thought about how this movie could be a success and what would happen if this movie is a success. And for me, I feel like now that I've seen it and now that I've really enjoyed it, I could definitely say that if there really is some major justice in this world, then yeah, for me, I would definitely want to root Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse to actually succeed at the box office. Not just be a little bit profitable, but really be massively successful. Like, I want this to actually do much more successfully than Hotel Transylvania 3, because unlike Hotel Transylvania 3, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has so many things going for it that made it such a very successful film. Like, such amazing animation that really pushed the medium to a new level. It actually had filmmakers that are enthusiastic to make a good movie. It had directors that actually knew what they were doing. This actually had a lot of things. Like, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse clearly wanted to be a good movie, where Hotel Transylvania just wanted to be a soulless, safe cash grab just to profit off of fans who are willing to watch literally anything that had the Adam Sandler Dracula and his gang on it. So that's honestly the big thing, and I would love to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse actually be highly successful so that it would encourage Sony to go and make more movies like this. That this is the direction that they should go, and ultimately kill off the cartoony garbage. That they need to let go and reject any and all movies that would have the similar style of movies that have such horrible, unwatchable, failed animation like the Emoji Movie, Cloudy, Hotel Transylvania, The Smurfs, and all that kind of junk. They need to let that go and enter into this new direction with Into the Spider-Verse. And they have already confirmed that they are currently working on a sequel and an all-female spin-off film, so that does seem a step in the right direction, but I want to see more, for Sony to actually regain a bit of their reputation, they need to make more movies like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where they should no longer make any more dumb cartoons, and that they should go and make more actual animated movies like this. More experimental projects where they could see what else the medium can do that no one has yet to try out. You know, that would actually be amazing. That would actually be very fascinating to go and check out, because Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a good step in the right direction. However, is this going to continue? The box office is going to be something that will be an ultimate factor if they will be going in this direction. So, this is honestly something that will be fascinating to see if they are actually going to go and actually do well. Because you never know what's going to happen in January. That will probably be that will be the ultimate factor onto which movie is going to come out as a success, other than Aquaman, because we can guarantee Aquaman is going to be a big hit right over there. But really, it's going to be the ultimate battle between Bumblebee, Mary Poppins, and Spider-Man. Who will win in this fight? Or even with the mule on top of that. Like, who is going to be the big winner? Who's going to be reigning who's going to be named the big champion among all these films? And that is something that we'll have to wait and see, but I can already tell that if Spider-Man does become a major success, and if it does make a lot of money at the box office, then there's going to be a lot of positive changes, not just for Sony Animation, but for animated movies in general. So honestly, I actually really do want to encourage Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If it means that we are going to if Sony can finally kill off garbage, unwatchable movies like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and the Emoji Movie, then I'm all for it. Please, more Spider-Man. But honestly, it's going to be tough to determine. We'll see what audiences are a lot more interested in. Are they more interested in Bumblebee? Are they more interested in Mary Poppins? Are they more interested in Aquaman? We'll have to wait and see, because the quantity of competition is definitely a major factor, and I understand some people can bring up subjects like Jumanji and Sing, but the factor with Jumanji and Sing is that those movies became major successes mainly because they only had one competition, and that is a Star Wars movie, whether it be Rogue One or The Last Jedi. So that gives audiences a lot more room to see another movie if they want to see something else. Like, okay, I've already seen this Star Wars movie, let's go check out this other film. So that's how they became major hits, despite the massive competition of a Star Wars movie. This one, however, you got options. You got several of them. And especially with the fact that some of them are a lot more direct. Like, I mean, Aquaman and Spider-Man, these are both major feature films. Like, these are both major superhero films with a recognizable icon that also has, let's see. Like a superhero film, major icons, and have been praised by critics for stunning visuals. So it's going to be a tough factor, and I mean, a lot, and I have seen people mentioning how Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse can actually be very good. If Spider-Man can actually be very successful at the box office, they bring up some very good points, but those points can also be applied to many of these films as well, like with Mary Poppins Returns, with Bumblebee, with Aquaman, so it's going to be a tough factor, so we'll have to wait and see with how it goes, but honestly, let's just hope for the best that Spider-Man can actually be a good influence for Sony to bring their animation studio to a new direction where it's less cartoony garbage and more experimental feature films like this. So we'll have to wait and see. Alright, so, with all that said and done though, let's go ahead and go into the chat wall right over here, and I want to ask you guys, how do you think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is going on right now? Do you think it's going to do well at the box office? Do you think it's going to be hard for it to stand a chance against these major competitors? I really want to know, what do you guys think? Because it could be pretty tough right here, so let's see how it goes. Alright, some comments right over here. Honestly, because of Into the Spider-Verse, Sony is probably not going to give the rights back to Marvel anytime soon because of this and the huge amount of money that Venom made. That is definitely for sure. 2018 definitely showed that Sony doesn't want to go and give the rights back to Disney anytime for that. Let's see. As a Spider-Man fan, I'm glad that it managed to break the box office opening. I hope that it has great legs throughout the holidays in January. I know it got an A+ on audiences to Cinema Score, so I hope more people can see this movie. The only thing that comes out in January are two Sony films, Escape Room and A Dog Way Out, Fox's The Kid Who Would Be King, and finally Shyamalan's Glass, the biggest movie in January, so I hope it does well. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I didn't mention any of the January movies. Other than Glass is honestly not that, other than Glass, there's not any other major movies worth mentioning. January is usually the month where big studios would just dump their movies they don't necessarily care about onto that. So it's like, oh, okay, you got a small little movie, we're just going to put it in January, who cares? It's not going to be that much of a risk anyway, so they'll just dump it on the side. So yeah, other than Glass, there's not going to be that much competition. Alright, let's see. I feel like Into the Spider-Verse would have made more of an opening weekend if it wasn't from the competition of The Grinch and Ralph Breaks the Internet. I think next week the movie will make more money the next week after Christmas. If it also holds on very well during the rest of the month in January, it could probably hit $200 million domestically to be Sony Animation's highest grossing film in that place. I'm not sure about worldwide though, but I hope it can pass Hotel Transylvania. Yeah, I definitely hope so too. And you do bring up some good points. Let's see. I haven't seen Spider-Verse yet since I was checking out the new Peter Jackson film, but it's honestly impressive that it beats out Illumination, a box office god. But literally a hair on Spider-Ham's chinny chin chin. Oh, okay, now I get it. Alright. It may be inevitable that it may bomb, but I can assure you that it's going to be a massive stepping stone for Sony that'll go for miles. Get it? Yeah, I get the puns, boy. I get the little puns. Thank you. All right. Anyways, I'll just read one more comment. I feel like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse will do great at the box office in January until February when Dragon 3 comes out. I'm also worried when what Apple will do with Sony when they purchase the studio. I'm sorry, what? I don't know where you got that information, but I have never heard of Apple deciding like, okay, I'm just going to buy Sony Pictures, thank you. I've never heard of that before, so, yeah. And by the way, you're probably forgetting about the Lego Movie 2, so before that, it's going to be Lego Movie 2 that's going to be pretty big with people. Okay, so I think with all that said, we're pretty much good with our little discussion with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I think it's time that we shall go on and discuss about our next story, which, honestly, this movie, I gotta say, before Into the Spider-Verse, we had this movie. Now, keep in mind, Spider-Man is not the only movie that actually has a feature film where the superhero would be said to be one of its best. That some people would say that, oh, one of Spider-Man's best movies ever is actually an animated film. Spider-Man ain't the only one. You gotta remember that there is also Batman. And yes, the reason why I want to discuss about Batman is because on Christmas Day this year will mark the 25th anniversary of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which, like Into the Spider-Verse, many people would actually deem this movie to be one of the best Batman movies ever. Like, literally right up there, or would even surpass the 1989 movie by Tim Burton and also The Dark Knight. And the Hollywood Reporter actually does have a very fascinating article to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Mask of the Phantasm, where the article would go and discuss with some of the people that did work on the film, a little bit with Paul Dini, but mainly with Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, Mark Hamill, the voice of the Joker, and also the voice director of the feature, Andrea Romano. And from there, they would all go and discuss about their personal experiences with making the movie, as well with experiencing how the movie came out. Because you got to keep in mind with Batman Mask of the Phantasm, unfortunately, even though it was highly praised, it actually was a box office bomb. Barely anyone actually went and saw it, and Warner Brothers barely gave any sort of marketing for this feature film. And even to this day, Warner Brothers would often forget about this movie in particular and would just consider it as like just an extra tidbit. Like, they literally put it as a bonus feature as part of the Batman animated series Blu-ray. But with this one in particular, in this article, there would be a moment where Mark Hamill would actually go and discuss about when there was this time when he decided to go and check the movie out in theaters, and there were barely a few people in there in the first place. Like, it was actually almost empty, and the only people that were there were like major Batman animated series fans, like down to the point that they even recognize Mark Hamill. And keep in mind, that was during the days before the internet. So being like a voice actor being recognized back in those days is actually quite legendary. And he would go and discuss about the process of it, and discussing about how he developed Joker and his role in the movie here in particular, where even though Joker is the most well-known bad guy of the Batman universe, in Mask of the Phantasm, he's not the main bad guy. Technically, Phantasm is actually the main villain of it. And he would go and discuss about how he really does appreciate the role, and even discuss a little bit about the process of the making of the movie, where it's actually pretty well known with Mask of the Phantasm that it was actually done in an 8-month span, where the filmmakers did not have a lot of time in making this, and yet they managed to pull off what is now deemed as one of the best Batman movies ever. And then there was also a discussion with Andrea Romano, where she has been a long-time voice director for the series, and one of the biggest challenges for her to discuss about or to go into Batman Mask of the Phantasm is because the fact that now that it is a movie, she cannot be credited as a voice director, because technically the role of a director can only be applied if you are a part of the Directors Guild of America. So without that, then you can't be called a voice director. So instead, she would have to take on the role where she would have to invent one and calls herself a voice supervisor. But for Andrea Romano, she had a blast making this movie, but she did feel a little bit crushed over the fact that she couldn't call herself a legitimate voice director and had to make up some name like voice supervisor and stuff like that. But then at the same time, there was also a major discussion with Kevin Conroy about the role of Batman, because technically, yes, it does go into the origin story of Batman. So this movie does hint out a little bit about the old tale about how when Batman was a kid, he and his parents went to the opera, and then suddenly his parents ended up getting shot by some mug. And who that person could be, well, that can depend. Some of them say it's Joker, some say it's a different kind of thug. Like, the roles would often change, but at the same time, they would introduce some new elements, developing the character of not Batman necessarily, but of Bruce Wayne. And that's when they brought in the love interest of this feature film, which is Andrea Romano. And she would be the love of Batman's life, and they would go into some very dark themes and some very serious themes where Bruce Wayne would have to have this ultimatum if either he should continue as Batman or if he should quit being Batman so that he can be a loving husband to Andrea. So this definitely was a fascinating look, and especially one scene that they really do highlight was actually a moment when Bruce would be at the graveyard and he would be talking to his parents, which are just tombstones, discussing about his role. Does he want to be Batman or does he want to be a husband? And from there, I guess there is a bit of a metaphorical answer where a bat suddenly swooped in right through Bruce, or like right over Bruce. And I guess that gave him the answer where after what he has witnessed, after everything that he has seen, he has no choice but to be Batman, especially after the ending. And on top of that, they would also discuss about their performances with some of the other actors here as well, like Hart Bochner, in which he played Arthur Reeves, and he actually gave out a very stellar performance in the feature, not only revealing how the politician in this movie actually did have some connections with the Joker, but also the way that he would die out with some toxic laughing gas. And also on top of that, this is also a very fascinating aspect about the movie that has yet to even be discussed about, and not many people would often bring up, is actually the factor that they introduce a new origin story of the Joker. I mean, of course, a lot of people know very well about some of Joker's crazy stories that he would bring up in The Dark Knight, or especially with The Killing Joke, but this one kind of reveals this new one where Joker has to climb up the ladder in crime, where he used to work for this crime boss, but then eventually kind of grew bigger in the crime industry, where now in this movie right over here, he would kill off some of his co-workers and even his old boss because of his entire insanity and what he went through and all that kind of stuff. So, like, he has always been a major criminal, but it's through that process where he would ultimately become the Joker. And that was definitely a fascinating aspect to look at. And there is also another actor, an actress that they have discussed about. Oh, actually, on the side, speaking of the Joker's boss, they did actually discuss about performing with Abe Vigoda, who actually did play the part of Salvatore Valestra, who was the crime boss that the Joker used to work for, and how well he actually performed. But there is one actress, and is actually Andrea Beaumont. Who was the actress that played her? I know that they've mentioned her in here. I just want to see. Oh man, they did mention it. Probably you guys know who she is, But, man, I know that they have it in this article here. Let's see now. Oh, man, where is it? Where is that name? I'm trying to see. Oh, Bachner? No. I've already discussed about Bachner. Oh, Dana! Oh, it's Dana something. Holy crap. Okay, now I got it. It's Dana something. Crap. Okay, hold on. I heard, Dana. Where is it? Crap. I know it's here somewhere. The girl, Dana, the girl who played Angela Beaumont. Oh, crap. Where is it? I know I'm getting close. I know it's here. Dana Delany! There we go! It's Dana Denley. And they've also mentioned in here how apparently Dana actually did a very strong job as Andrea Beaumont in Mask of the Phantasm. So much so that it's through that where she ended up playing as Lois Lane in the Superman animated series of the 90s. And what's actually very interesting about this also is that they have mentioned that one big part about how they managed to get at least the acting aspect to work very well is actually the part where they mention how they crafted this just like if it was an extended episode for the series. And with the actors, usually for animated films, the actors would record their own lines separately, but with this one, they did it the same way that they would for a TV show, and for this TV show in particular, where they had the whole ensemble together and record their lines from there, which actually does help to feed each other their own lines and maybe improvise a little bit, and to have a good interaction to make the characters feel actually more real whenever they would be talking to one another. So that's another major element about how how Mask of the Phantasm actually came out beautifully, at least performance-wise. But if I may put in my personal take on why I loved Mask of the Phantasm, because I've reviewed that movie years ago, and it definitely was an epic feature film. In fact, I think I might have put it among one of my most underrated animated features. But the big thing with Mask of the Phantasm for me is really the factor that it really does bring back Batman into his roots, where it actually does feel more like a detective movie. I mean, you gotta keep in mind, DC stands for Detective Comics, and the way that Batman was originally crafted is that he was meant to be a little bit more like a detective in a sense. It's not just a superhero, but also a bit of a detective to see where the crime actually came from and who did all the stuff. So it's really the factor that it is part detective movie that truly does feel like Batman more so than most other movies. And that's probably the one major thing that I feel like it definitely does stand out among all the other ones. So with this movie in particular, it really does shine brightly as a Batman movie and even as a superhero movie, how it really does stand out, and how, like, even when thinking about it, it really does stand out even among all the superhero movies that we get nowadays, among all the live action Marvel movies and among all the live action DC movies. And honestly, looking at Batman, for me, you know, it does give me a bit of a positive light onto Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because let's pretend the worst case scenario actually does happen, that Spider-Man fails to actually compete against many of the movies that are currently on right now, like Bumblebee, movies like, Bumblebee, Aquaman, and Mary Poppins Returns, and it does end up being a box office flop. The best case scenario for it, though, is that it will end up just like Mask of the Phantasm, where it will have a prominent fan base, where it will still be highly regarded as one of the best movies of its franchise ever, and it will get a strong following, and even as time would move on, will probably get that strong status. So that's the worst case scenario, is that it will end up having the same fate as Mask of the Phantasm, where it's not as well appreciated when it would be out in theaters, but by time it will be viewed as a classic. So but again, that is the worst case scenario. But still, looking at Batman Mask of the Phantasm, it definitely was a great animated feature, definitely awesome. And even just recently, Warner Brothers did manage to release the film on Blu-ray, and like I said before, did put it as a bonus feature on the Blu-ray of Batman the Animated Series box set. So there is all that. Honestly, overall, I do feel like it really did some great work, and it not only emphasized the power of just the animated series, but really, like, it really shows the beauty of what can happen when you do bring it, when you do bring superheroes onto animation. And sometimes you can bring out some amazing gold, because the people working on animation, you never know if they would actually be capable of bringing out some amazing feature films that not even live action people can even think of. So I just want to say happy 25th anniversary to Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and hopefully your legacy will live on among all the other great Batman films. So, with all that said and done, though, I would like to go onto the chat wall right over here, and I want to ask you guys about your thoughts on Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Have you seen the movie? Did you enjoy it? Let me know about your personal thoughts on it, just to have a little bit of a chat about Mask of the Phantasm. I want to know what you guys think, just have a little bit of our thoughts in honor of the 25th anniversary of the movie. Let's see now. All right, some people are not necessarily talking about, man, I don't know if people are really listening to what I'm talking about in the chat wall, because all I see is talking about Teen Titans Go and Omelette du Fromage. Let's see now. Some people are saying, I still haven't seen Mask of the Phantasm yet, but the legacy it gained will definitely warrant me checking it out. How can he make animated films in just 8 months? Because he's a Batman. Yeah, that's definitely true there. Let's see now. Believe it or not, according to Wikipedia, based on the animated series, the film started production as a direct-to-video release, but was ultimately changed to a theatrical release. That is definitely true, though. It was I think it was originally meant to be just direct, just straight to DVD, or if it's meant just like as a television special. It wasn't originally meant for theaters, but at the last minute they decided, okay, you know what, this might have potential, let's put it on the big screen and see what happens. So in a way, it's a little bit like a gamble that Warner Brothers has done to put it up on the big screen and see what happens from there. Alright, let's see now. Love Batman the Animated Series when I was a kid. I wish I could travel back in time and see if I could watch the movie when it first came out. Yeah, I mean, like, we all have that moment, but maybe we could relive it. I mean, you never know if there would be a day that Fathom Events could actually make something special, and they would actually go and release Batman Mask of the Phantasm on the big screen as kind of like a limited time event. You never know. That could actually be something. Let's see now. I've never been into Batman the Animated Series. I was more of a Batman Beyond fan, and I love Return of the Joker. Oh, okay, that's fair. I want to see the movie on a Fathom Events, but I was busy with schoolwork. I might see it in theaters in the near future. Yeah, exactly. So, I think we all shared some good times with Batman Mask of the Phantasm, so it definitely was a fun chat, and definitely great to reflect upon the process of making this movie, and what is it that necessarily made this movie great, because there's a lot of things that were definitely awesome with it. But now it is time that we shall go on to our next story, and believe it or not, I actually have a trailer. Now, this trailer in particular is actually one of the independent animated features. You might hear its name popping out from places, especially at the Annie Awards, where it did actually get 2 Annie nominations, more than just Best Independent Animated Feature. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for Ruben Brandt, Collector, and see how the movie fares out. All right, yeah. And it's gonna be a short, 90-second trailer. Okay. Wow. I'm not gonna lie. I was not expecting a movie like this. I was not expecting like a total heist adventure. Like honestly, when I heard about this movie and how it's more artsy, how it's more like a psychological kind of thing, I was expecting more of an art house thriller in a sense. But this movie actually does look like it tries to be more of an action-packed adventure, where this is more like somewhere in the veins of like the Ocean's 11 movies, where they want to make a major heist movie, but really emphasizing art as a major theme, especially bringing in all these people to go and try to steal these paintings so that a guy can like no longer have these crazy nightmares. It sounds like this massive heist movie, but also a bit of a bit of a psychedelic thriller where there's going to be a lot of strange, freaky imagery going on that's going to be highly reminiscent to many paintings. Honestly, the one thing that I will say that just seems a little bit weird for me, and it's going to take a lot of time to get used to, is honestly the character designs. I don't know about you, and I don't know, maybe the character designer inspired this through some paintings or something like that, but I look at this, and honestly, am I the only one that thinks that, like, these characters, like, they look like a freaking horse? I don't know, it's just, like, with their face, it's just, there's something about it that's just very horse-like, especially, like, when they have, a long prominent nose, and like I guess long would be the best way to describe their faces, is that it just looks like their faces are very long. They got a long face, they got a long nose, and their mouths are like right at the bottom where they have a very little chin. It just, I don't know, they look more like horse people. They look more like horse people than the main characters of the Dark Crystal. And that just seems something that feels a bit odd. But I do appreciate many of the other elements in the animation where you see how very fast-paced it is, and you see how there are a lot of elements that are trying to be more reminiscent to some of like the different art movements and the different artists. So like you see a lot of Picassos that are very prominent in here. Not only Picassos, but also different, like they're going to go into a lot of cubism. There's going to be a lot of surrealism that are going to be integrated into these scenes, and especially like it said at the beginning where like they aren't going to be holding back. This does have an R rating with some nude images and some violence, but it does seem like a very interesting animated feature, not just action-packed, but also something that for art fans who would be very fascinated to go and check out. Now, I can definitely tell how this could be the type of movie that could be a strong contender during award season, like whenever people would... Oh, excuse me. But whenever people would nominate stuff for Best Animated Feature, that this could be one that could come up a few times. And who knows? I wouldn't necessarily be surprised that with Mirai, maybe this movie as well can actually gather an Oscar nomination. Now, this could probably be a controversial move, because that would mean sacrificing one major mainstream animated feature that people would love, like Ralph Breaks the Internet or Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But it would not surprise me whatsoever if we might hear the name of Ruben Brandt Collector more often in the future. This definitely does look like, at least judging by the trailer, it does look like something that could be highly action-packed. So, it definitely does look like it can have some potential. And it does play around with some... you could tell that it does play around with some different animation mediums, especially like in the first scene right over here, where the main character, Ruben Brandt, he would be dragged down by like these tentacles and goes down into the sea, and the tentacles are all CGI while Ruben Brandt is still hand drawn. So this definitely does look like something that could be fascinating, and yeah, honestly, it does get me a little bit intrigued to see if this would be a movie that would be worth watching. Like, again, it'll take me a bit of getting used to seeing the horse faces on the characters, but yeah, honestly, Ruben Brandt Collector does actually look like a movie that could be pretty fascinating to watch, and not just in an art house sense, in more of a mainstream action-packed sense as well. So I think this could be something that can be very appealing for audiences, and definitely an independent feature that might be worth checking out for many people, I gotta say. So yeah, in terms of a release date, well, I don't know. I don't think this is gonna get a nationwide release. At the most that I could really expect is that this movie could probably get, like, the most that people could expect to see this get a public release would be sometime a little bit later, when this is going to be released either on Blu-ray and DVD, or maybe on a streaming service, I don't know, but, it definitely does look like something that is, pretty fascinating to look at. So it mixes art with some pretty intense action, and definitely a pleasant surprise, I must say. So with all that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall right over here, and I would like to ask you guys, what are your thoughts with the trailer that we have just seen with Ruben Brandt Collector? Are you guys interested in seeing how this would go? Are you guys not interested? Does this look pretty cool? Are you not interested in this? Let me know what you guys think right over here. Let's see. Someone seems to be against it. Not even going to touch it. Even if I'm 18, I'm not into rated R films, or even gonna try watching, since the designs look like over-exaggerated caricatures with the face of a horse. I get that is art, but as an artist myself, I'm not into that form. Oh, that is interesting. I guess you're not necessarily a fan of cubism, is what you're probably trying to express. Okay, moving along now. I thought it looks good. This movie has potential, and it looks like it can make a surprise appearance of being nominated at the Oscars if they decide to take out Ralph Breaks the Internet. After all, Sony Pictures Classics has a good track record when it comes to animation in terms of nominated at the Oscars. Speaking of which, do you like Sony Pocket Classics despite not liking Sony Pictures as a whole? I think you mean Sony Pictures Classics. I've never heard of Sony Pocket Classics. No, honestly, the thing with Sony Pictures Classics is that they are just a distributor, much like Criterion Collection, and really, the stuff that they got, like the stuff that they would distribute, they're actually pretty awesome, especially with the fact that I actually do own some myself. Like, they do distribute the works of Sylvain Chomet, like The Illusionist and The Trippets of Belleville, and they were actually the ones who did distribute The Red Turtle, which is a movie I absolutely adore. And that's the movie that was actually co-produced by Studio Ghibli, by the way, on a side note. But yeah, like whenever there is an animated film from Sony Pictures Classics, it's definitely the kind that's a little bit like G-Kids or Criterion, that it's definitely a movie that does seem pretty interesting and might be worth a watch. Let's see, do we have any other comments as well? It seems interesting and unsettling, but it might fall into the trope of selling itself as unique, but being standard as generic. Yeah, I do see what you mean, though. I do understand, because worst case scenario, this might fall into the same trap as Loving Vincent, where visually it could be a grand spectacle, but the script that it would offer would not necessarily be that much. So I do understand the concern onto that, but again, we just have to wait and see for ourselves. And honestly, I think we're pretty much good with Ruben Brandt so far, and I guess now it is time that we shall go and move on to the grand finale. And for this grand finale in particular, I just gotta say that this is actually a story that, honestly, I found on the side of my phone, and this is one of those stories that I gotta say, it must be highlighted in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast because it is something that is related to cartoons, but man is this one unique and crazy. And let's just go ahead and just check out the title of this article. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a poacher who killed hundreds of deer was sentenced to repeatedly watch Bambi. Yes, a poacher has been sent to jail because he kept killing too much freaking deer, and now he has no choice but to watch Bambi over and over and over again. How the fridge is this possible? Okay, let me tell you this little story. Well, apparently, what happened is that there's a family called the Barry family, which consists of David Barry and his two sons, David Barry Jr. and Kyle Barry. Now, with those guys, I'm just going to warn you right now, if you guys cannot handle animal cruelty, if you guys cannot stomach it, if you don't want to hear stories about animals getting hurt, then I'll be honest, I think you should mute this for a few seconds because what I'm about to describe can get a little bit graphic. Because here's the thing. The crime that they have committed, what they have done is that for over 9 years, apparently, what they would do is that they would hunt deer so much, but not necessarily for food, not necessarily for sport or anything like that. They just do it for the hell of it. And what they would do is really messed up. Like, when they would shoot the deer, they would then go and cut off their heads, like entirely, just slice it off, and leave the body to rot. Like, they would shoot the deer, like, again, they would shoot the deer, they would take the head, but they would leave the carcass behind. They would just leave the carcass lying there in the frickin' woods. Reading from my source here in the National Post, we do have a quote coming from Randy Dahman, the division chief of the Missouri Department of Conservation, pretty much told newspapers that taking just the heads is their version of obtaining a trophy and leaving the carcass behind is merely an afterthought. While there are some cases where poachers go after antlers for profit, with this bunch, it was more about the thrill of the kill itself. So, these guys, they just mainly want to go and try to just have a kill, and that's pretty much it. So, what ended up happening is that, they actually got the Barry family, and they got a whole bunch of poachers, and they got... they ended up getting sentenced. Some of them ended up going to jail for about a year. However, Judge Robert George here decided to get a little bit creative when it comes to one of the family members, which is David Barry Jr., where not only is he sentenced to jail, but also, at the same time, let me just continue reading here, that according to court records obtained by a news leader, David Barry Jr. is to view the Walt Disney movie Bambi, with his first viewing being on before December 23rd, 2018, and at least one such viewing each month thereafter during the defendant's incarceration in the Lawrence County Jail. And like I said, he is going to be in jail for a year, so at minimum, he has to go and watch Bambi 12 times in a whole year span. So that's what he has to do. And that is only the minimum. There is a possibility that maybe he would want to watch Bambi once a week. Or maybe if he really is crazy, he would watch it daily. And I think I don't even have to explain why the choice of Bambi in particular for his crimes. It does seem to be a bit of a perfect fit, especially when the article here would even mention about the infamous scene. And we all know what we're talking about when it comes to that scene. The part with Bambi's mother where she would get shot. So hopefully, the reason why they would want the judge decided to go and do this is to hopefully make sure that the message and that hopefully the heart of the movie can be so drilled into David Barry Jr.'s head that he'll finally understand about why his crimes were wrong, why killing deer is a bad idea, and that the next time if he ever decides to go hunting deer, he'll think about Bambi. He'll think about Bambi's mom, and he'll probably burst into tears that he just can't do it. Now, is there any more? And also, on top of that, there is something that I do need to read as well, because some people are probably wondering about the other people as well, the other family members like the dad and Kyle Berry. It is stated that it is unclear why Berry Jr. was singled out to watch the 76-year-old Disney movie ad nauseum. In total, the other co-conspirators face a litany of charges and paid nearly $200,000 in bonds and fines and served 33 days in jail, according to the Department of Conversation. All the Berries had their hunting, fishing, and trapping privileges revoked for life. So, on the plus side, they can't really go and hunt, period. So they lost that privilege for the rest of their lives. And on a weird side note, it also states that Berry Jr.'s family members have also been accused of catching fish by hand, an often illegal process that can be dangerous for both fishermen and fish populations. So you gotta use the fishing rods, you can't use your godforsaken hands. Just remember. And they apparently decide to go and catch it with their hands. You know, tried to do like that scene in Mulan where they gotta go like, I got a fish. You know, you can't really do that with these people. And when I saw this article, it just sounded like the title itself just seems absolutely crazy, where the guy has to not only serve jail time, but also to go and check out an animated film while he does so over and over and over. And it's not several animated films, it's just that one. It's just frickin' Bambi. And I saw this and I just thought to myself, well, what the fridge? Why haven't we done this before? Because the thing is, with animated films, more often they would have some great morals into it. They do have some great lessons to teach families, to teach kids, and to teach audiences in general, especially when when there is a well-crafted animated feature, they would also have some strong heart implemented as well, so that you can actually connect with the characters, regardless if they are human, if they are deer, if they are spiders, if they are insects, or whatever. As long as it's well done, the audience can actually connect with it, and hopefully maybe a criminal like David Berry Jr. can actually connect with characters like Bambi and his mother while he would go and serve jail time. And honestly, that actually did get me thinking a little bit, and it did make me wonder, if this could be an idea that we could fully expand, that maybe for the different types of crimes that criminals would have to go and check out an animated film while they would serve jail time. So I went and asked this on social media, that if there is an animated film that you would like to show criminals while they serve jail, what would you do? And honestly, when I asked that, it seems like a pretty, honestly, it kind of backfired, because for the most part, most people didn't understand the purpose of why they would have to watch that animated film. And they would go on to go and list off, some of the worst animated features ever, just for the purpose of torturing them. The most popular responses that I got would include stuff like Norm of the North, Food Fight, The Emoji Movie, and especially Where the Dead Go to Die. I mean, I did not know that you guys are in full support of the torture system. Might as well crank out the whips and also that machine that stretches out the limbs at the same time, if you want to go on that department, if it is that idea. And I just want to say right now that no, that idea just doesn't work. The idea of making them watch a terrible animated feature, that's not going to work out, and it's not going to work out as a torture system, because I will tell you why. What you forget is that we are talking about criminals. We are talking about thugs and bad guys that have to serve jail time for years. And those people, they don't necessarily have the luxury or even the privilege to try to distinguish what is a good animated project and what is a bad animated project. So even if you would hand them stuff like Where the Dead Go to Die, or the Emoji Movie, or Norm of the North, they will actually take it. They will actually be happy, and they will enjoy it. Because, honestly, the thing is, for these guys, watching something like the Emoji Movie is much better than doing whatever they would when they would serve jail time. At least watching a movie would be a breath of fresh air, even if it is considered the worst of the worst. So those torture things, that's not necessarily a bad idea. No, what I mean, sorry, hold on, scratch that. That's not a good idea. That's what I meant. Because the thing is, the purpose of making them watch an animated film is for the moral, is for the message in that film to be drilled into their heads. That's the whole point of taking an animated film. Like, a good example that some people have suggested is actually with Tangled, to teach them about crimes of kidnapping and how it's not a good idea. So that's a good suggestion right there. And also, some other great ideas that I have seen is also with The Breadwinner. Considering that we have seen a lot of right-wing extremists committing major hate crimes, like, you might as well take The Breadwinner and you give it to Trump supporters to go and watch to make them prove that, yes, Muslims are people too. So hopefully they can gain some sympathy points by watching The Breadwinner instead of acting like idiots as they normally would, thinking that all Muslims and all brown people are terrorists. Or another great idea would be An American Tail. You can actually give it to them, and they can actually see that with An American Tail that they can understand that all immigrants are people too. Even the caravan with the people that are traveling from Mexico and from South America and moving up to America, yes, those are people equally as much as the ones that are in America as well. So hopefully that message in An American Tail can actually be drilled in their heads as well. Or heck, why not freaking Zootopia on top of that to show it as an anti-Trump movie? To show that with the way that in Zootopia, with how they would separate carnivores and herbivores, that's the thing that Trump is doing. They're trying to divide people into different groups, trying to say that one is better than the other. That's the problem. That's a bad thing to do. Hello? That's honestly, that's the thing. I got like a full list that for freaking idiotic Trump supporters to go and check out that they need to see, and you gotta understand these messages if you want to go out in the world and be a mentally functioning human being. So, but yeah, you do understand the point though, is that using an animated film is meant to be used so that their messages can hopefully be integrated into their heads so that they understand about how their crimes are wrong. And honestly, this is actually, it's a creative idea that that the judge decided to do on this guy in particular, that hopefully he'll set off a better example, but hopefully it could actually be very effective, that maybe this guy, like, considering that the guy has committed so much crimes against deer, what he has done, like, he killed off a whole bunch of deer, that hopefully that after watching Bambi so much, he'll understand what he has done is wrong, and hopefully it can actually stem onto his family and set a better example that maybe what he has done with hunting is actually a pretty bad idea and that they should know better otherwise, thanks to the help of Bambi. But I just want to say though, the problem is that really the thing with this, what I am a bit disappointed is that honestly, he's just like only watching Bambi for at least once a month. That's the main, that's the thing here, is that he's only watching this for the thing with Bambi is that he can only watch the movie at least once a month. And for me, what I would like to do is that, no, I want him to watch like freaking daily. I want him to see, like, throughout the whole time he's in jail, he needs to watch it so many times to the point that when he comes out of it, like, all he can think of is just Bambi. His mind is just nothing but that animated film, so much so that he can literally point out to every little detail, every frame. Like he can picture every frame of that movie in his head, and that he can only communicate in Bambi quotes, where he lost all of his vocabulary, and the only way that he could speak is actually with Bambi quotes, you know. Like, he would just come out and just say, like, "Yo, Bob, did you see that thing in the sky? Bird! Bird, 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 bird." And then they would just, and then they would crank up the radio. "Oh, man, dude, I love this song. This is actually pretty epic. Life is a song that never ends." Or, they would go and walk outside and then they see a couple just making out. It's like, "Oh, dude, check those two out. That's actually pretty hot. Yeah, Twitter peeking." Just really be just so mentally scarred where all he can think of is literally just Bambi. Like, literally just do like a full-on Clockwork Orange and just strap himself in and like give him those like little eye things so that he cannot blink, so that 24/7 all he can watch is just freaking Bambi. If you want torture, do that, where this guy can come out as the Bambi Man, where all he can think of, all he could say is literally nothing but Bambi. That could be a great way for people to teach their lesson. That could be a great way for hunters to understand that if you're going to go hunting and if you're going to do some illegal moves, then you're going to come out like this guy and you're going to become fully like a Bambi Man, where you can only speak as Bambi. Sir, what is your name, by the way? They call me Thumper. So yeah, that's kind of the big thing with this one. Overall, I do feel like this is a pretty interesting idea, though. A pretty unique and a pretty crazy idea, but overall, it does seem like a lot of fun. Well, not necessarily a lot of fun, but overall, it does seem like a pretty clever idea in order to update the punishment of people's crimes, to use animated films so that their morals can be drilled into the criminals' heads to understand what they did wrong. Alright, so with all that said and done, I would like to know from you guys, what are your thoughts about this crazy news about this guy going to jail for a year and being forced to watch Bambi at least once a month? Would you like to see more criminals watching animated films? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this could backfire? Let me know what you guys think so far. Alright, let's see. Did you know that back when Bambi was first released, hunters were already completely against Bambi, saying that it is the worst insult ever offered in any form to American sportsmen? I guess nowadays the authority of legalizing deer hunting has Bambi touched them so much that it would do something like this to people like him. Oh my god, that is actually a pretty interesting fact. I never knew that hunters would have a passionate hatred for Bambi. I never thought of it like that. It's like, this movie is making hunters look bad and I am offended. Man, I never thought a movie would actually have that kind of controversy right there. That is definitely a unique thing. Let's see there. I have a better idea. How about repeating the mother getting shot scene over and over again? No. You gotta do the full movie, man. I mean, you can't just get that one thing. Like, if you gotta make them sit and make them learn something, you gotta do it for like 90 minutes or at the very minimum more than an hour. The Bambi, like the mother getting shot scene, it's just that it's not that well done. It's just, well, no, I don't mean it like that. What I mean is just that, like, having the Bambi's mother getting shot, that scene is just like really short. It's like, okay, here's 8 minutes of this thing. Okay, you could go now. That's not how it works. No, you need to make them sit there and sit them there for a while. Okay, let's see. Are there any other comments that people would have? No, it looks like that's pretty much it from what I could tell. Let's see. Oh, hold on, there's another one. How about the Prince of Egypt to show that slaves was wrong if one of the criminals was sentenced in jail for doing slaving a person? Well, I mean, I guess you could do that. I guess you could go on to that aspect. Yeah, that could be an idea. That I never thought of that, really. Let's see. This should be a good punishment. Let the man learn about his actions and can really tend to having a change of heart. Why would he really do this fully? Will have a mystery to me. I hope he never does it again. Well, I mean, like, it's the mentality of hunters. Sometimes it's just the thrill of it that makes people want to do it again and again and again. And I mean, with that family, they've been doing it for over 9 years, so who knows, really? That's all I can really say. But anyways, I think we are pretty much all good with this. And with that, I think it will conclude this episode of AniMat's crazy cartoon cast. So I just want to go and say thank you guys so much for watching, and also one more major message, just happy holidays and hope you spend a wonderful time with your family. So with all that said, of course, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and also a very late Happy Hanukkah, because I know the Jewish people have it super early this year. Like, apparently when December came out, it's like, okay, so when are we gonna do Hanukkah? We're doing it live! Wait, what? We're doing it live! So yeah, but overall, I just want to say happy holidays to you guys, and very soon, have a happy new year. And with all that said and done, until next time, see you later, dudes!